might look at these tax returns that were uncovered by USA Today to see the amount of money each conference is taking in, and you would see that the Big 12 paid out less per team than the ACC and say, whoa, okay, ACC payouts are higher than the Big 12 payouts. They should be dunking on us on Twitter, right? The ACC should be taking their shots. They should be dunking all over everybody. This is legitimate cause for concern for the Big 12, right? Like, I think that's, especially in our Twitter world, a very easy conclusion for everybody to draw. But like, is it actually legitimate reason for concern? Because I, again, think this deserves a much more nuanced look. So as I mentioned, the difference between the payouts, the ACC is paying out 43 to 46 million per school. The Big 12 is paying out 37 to 42. So you've got between a $4 to $6 million difference per year. And again, that's outside of your 3 AAC schools and BYU. It's not a huge difference. First and foremost, like, this is, I'm not going to say that it's peanuts. $5 million is $5 million, especially in this day and age. An athletic director would look me in the face and be like, dude, we will take whatever we can get. Okay. So I'm also not going to pretend that it is nothing, but it is not a massive difference. And in fact, I mean, you would have some schools in the ACC that are getting 43 and some in the Big 12 that are getting 42. So in some cases, it would be a $1 million difference there. But I also think these are really somewhat irrelevant because the ACC is about to change so much, because the ACC is going to have wildly different numbers here. Their variance will be much higher now moving forward because they're going to have the brand initiative payout and they're going to have the success initiative payout. So you'll have some teams that might be adding an extra 10, 15, $20 million per year. You'll have some that will be losing. I believe one of the stories earlier had reported that $7 million would be like the most that you could lose. For those schools' sake, I hope that's what it is, but you can then see how much of a variance they will have. All right. Now, it seemed like some took that and said, well, one, look, the ACC is already making more, and now they're doing the success and brand initiatives. They are smart. They're coming up with creative ways to do this. They are ahead of the Big 12 in that. And I would say, okay, let's pump the brakes on the success and brand initiatives part of this, which is just a nicer way to say unequal revenue sharing. Unequal revenue sharing has a very negative connotation. Brand and success initiative, that sounds better. Hey, you have success, you make more money. That sounds great. Well, it's also unequal revenue sharing, which generally leads to a ton of problems. And it's like a last resort. It's not something you would do unless, I don't know, you were desperately trying to keep these teams in your league because you were embroiled in 4 different lawsuits in multiple different states. And it was just a total mess. That seems to be the case here. It was the last straw for the ACC to just try and keep everyone together. And we can quibble over a couple $1 million per school in payouts, but the real existential threat is not, hey, we have some bigger brands, so we have a slightly higher payout. That's not the lifeblood of what is going to keep you together. Stability is what's going to keep you together, like teams actually staying in your conference. And that is something the Big 12 has much more of than the ACC, even with the settlement and all that, with Florida State and Clemson like backing off the lawsuits for right now. What that basically did was just lock in, hey, in 5 years, in all overwhelming likelihood, the ACC is going to be done one way or another, whether that's evolving into a Project Rudy type of Super League or it's just going to be getting poached at that point when the next wave of realignment comes. I mean, I guess you could say, well, the ACC in this form, right, in this form as we know it right now, stability is still a big problem with the ACC, even if they have put a Band-Aid on it for the next 5 years. And that's the real currency here. It's not just when we're talking about $1 to $5 million difference. That's not enough currency to make a difference to overcome the stability thing. So I don't view it as some major win in relation to the Big 12 that the ACC has gone with this unequal revenue sharing plan to get the settlement and make everything work. I mean, the Big 12 just doesn't have the threat of the conference dissolving because, I don't know, unless you're reading fog.net or whatever the most popular Utah message board out there is, not entirely sure what that is. There's not a real threat of anybody leaving the Big 12 for one of the Big 2 conferences. Okay. And like I said, if there's anybody, the other ironic part, if there's anybody who knows about just how damaging unequal revenue sharing is, it is the Big 12, ironically. The Big 12 has dealt with this with Texas and the Longhorn Network. Everybody around the Big 12 knows what it does. It causes problems. It fosters resentment. It's going to create a bunch of tension and problems for everybody in the conference. And the problem is the teams that are getting more money, Texas, in that case, Florida State, Clemson, et cetera, in this case, they've got all the leverage. It doesn't matter. If you're going to get mad at them and complain, it's just going to push them further out. And they're going to wait until that buyout money to get out of the conference drops, the exit fee drops, and then they're going to be gone sooner rather than later. It's not like that was some great solution. The ACC's problem has never been like, oh, hey, we are dramatically behind the Big 12 in terms of finances. It's just been stability. So they are in a period right now of relative stability to what the last 18 months to 24 months. I'm trying to remember when specifically the Florida State Clemson lawsuit started. They're in a period of relative stability compared to that. But that's because at that point you had literally your most high profile member going to board meetings and talking publicly on a live stream about oh yeah, we're leaving. We're getting out. We're going to figure it out. We'll find a way. That was the bar. That's what we're comparing it to. Florida State and Clemson are still very much getting out of here one way or another. You've just basically set an official timetable on it now and kick the can down the road. So the ironic thing is the ACC does have bigger. I mean, look, I've acknowledged many times the ACC has bigger brands for sure. They've got a team that's getting legit national title buzz right now in Clemson. They've got a team that just landed the number one player in the country in 2026 in Miami. They've got better brands. They've got some better brands at the top. But if you're talking about every school outside of Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, every other school is in the virtual exact same position because, especially in success and brand initiative world in the ACC, the payouts between the entirety of the Big 12 and the rest of those guys in the ACC is going to be very, very similar. And the fate of all of those teams, once 2030 hits and we go to the next iteration of whatever this is going to be, the fate of all of those schools, it is very much the same. Whether it's some schools coming over to the Big 12 or the ACC regaining some sort of conference, but it's without the big brands there, then it'll just be, it'll be the Spider-Man meme of everybody looking at each other like it's the exact same thing. So I think some of the fighting between ACC and Big 12 that I have seen over this is frankly a little bit silly. Everybody ultimately, especially most of the people that are fighting and arguing about this is really in the same boat. That's a generalization, but I don't think that Clemson and Florida State fans really care as much to be fighting with Big 12 fans over this. That's not really where their head is at. It's going to be everybody else that's doing it. I don't know that it's worth the fight. Everybody is generally kind of in the same class. The payouts are going to be very much the same moving forward between all of those schools. It's nothing to really get too hung up on, would be my opinion on that. You can take it or leave it, but that's what I've got to say to you.